So I got this question from a subscriber about how to write story-based copy that actually flows into selling. And so I want to start this video by reading it, and then we'll go into my rather actually in-depth answer for this. But I think that there's going to be a lot of value in this for you. So the message was from Reece, and he said, "Roy, I'm a huge fan and student of copywriting. I find it mesmerizing. I have a major problem with flow in my emails. Sometimes I reread and I'm like, huh? But because I already spent way too much time on it, I hit send most of the time." And so maybe you've been in a situation like Reece. I know that I have in the past where I spend a ton of time on a piece of copy, and then I'm going through it and I'm spending all this time and I'm trying to get it right and I'm trying to get it right. And then I go back around to the beginning and I read it and I'm just like, I don't know what just happened there. But I guess I'm kind of out of time. And whether it involves actually sending it to the client or sending it to my list or whatever, I'm kind of forced. Like it's a catch-22, but stuck between a rock and a hard place where I'm forced to just send it off, right? And it's always a little bit frustrating because I know that I could do better, but I don't necessarily know where things went wrong in that email. And I want to improve. Now, I've actually gotten a lot better at this. And the way that I did that was I actually learn to pay attention to like the structure of what I'm writing, whether it's an email or a long form sales letter or whatever, like recognizing that there are some consistent structures that work over and over again for persuasive messaging. And if you get the structure right, if you understand like, okay, here's what I need to say to get to the point where I can actually introduce my product or my service or my offer or whatever I want to provide or whatever action I want people to take, then with that, I can sit down and the great thing is like, not only do I never get to that situation where at the end of the message, I'm like, what did I just write? But I actually feel more confident going into the message from the beginning. I know what I'm going to say. I like zoom through it. I flow through the actual writing process. There's not frustration in the actual writing process because I'm just able to kind of follow along with what I know I need to say. And by doing that, everything comes together much better. And when it comes together much better, like the end result is an email message or a sales message, whatever my persuasive message is going to be, whatever medium I'm using, where it just connects much better and it sells much better. And I don't know if you noticed, if you're a really astute student of mine, you may have noticed that what I just went through there was the PISA formula, which is actually taught in my book, The Ultimate Selling Story. And that formula is problem, like speak to the problem, agitate, speak to the agitation of having the problem unsolved, invalidate, which is to point out how other solutions have been invalid in the past, solve, which is to present the solution in kind of a generic way, and then ask or take action, which is to ask the prospect to do whatever that next step needs to be. So that's problem, agitate, invalidate, solve, and ask. And that is probably the most universal selling story formula that you can use, whether you're talking about yourself, and the journey that you went on, or whether you're talking about your prospect and the journey that they go on, or talking about a past client and the journey that they went on. If you use that PISA formula, problem, agitate, invalidate, solve, ask, it will connect with them on a deep level and speak to the reason why they would actually want to take action at the end of your message. And it will actually get them to take action as well. Now, having the right formula isn't necessarily all of it. In fact, there are quite a few different story selling formulas, and each of them can play a role. And within the greater context of story selling, as I teach in my story selling masterclass, there's actually 3 pillars to highly effective story selling. So one is actually getting the story right. And that's where like all these story selling templates come in, and like each of those plays an important role. So if you want to use stories to tie a news event to your product. That's one type of story. If you have case studies, that's another type of story. If you're doing testimonials, that's another kind of story. And there's all sorts of different ways that you can loop stories into your selling messages to make them more engaging and compelling and to persuade more people to take action. But the story is just the beginning. You also have to consider like the role that you and your character, you as a character, your prospect as a character, play. When Hollywood thinks about telling a story, they don't just talk about the story itself. They talk about like who the characters are and what they come to the story with, whether that's baggage or strengths or whatever, and how they're transformed throughout the story. And understanding that will make you better at telling stories that actually sell. And then most importantly, because this is not storytelling, it's story selling, you do have to remember that selling is a critical part of this. And so you only tell stories that will move the selling forward. And I think most often when we get caught in a situation where our emails lost the flow or we're not able to successfully transition from stories into selling, it's because we were using the wrong story in the first place. It was a story that never actually set up the sale. Like it was maybe an interesting story to tell, an interesting anecdote from our life, but it doesn't connect with the sale in a way that's going to move people to take action. And so you have to consider these things. You consider the story, the character, the selling component of story selling. And you use the right story selling templates. There's over a dozen that I've taught through Story Selling Masterclass. There's over a dozen where you can go deep and apply different story selling in different situations. And then most importantly is you actually will do best when you plan it out. For most of the copy that I write something that's equivalent to this. It's just like quick bullet points, quick notes to myself of like, I want to go through this arc. I want to connect these dots. Here's the story that I want to tell. Here's how it connects to the sale. And that was my notes for making this video, for making sure that I deliver all the content that I want to deliver, that I fit it all in the right way, and that I connect with you in the way that I want to connect with you in order to tell this story and to encourage you, I guess, to get to the point where you're interested in learning more about story selling from me. And so when you plan it out, when you say, okay, how does this story work? How does this story not work? Should I leave the story out? Should I include that story? And how does that all connect to the action that I want somebody to take at the end of this? Well, that's when you start to get into this place where you can do really highly effective story selling that does flow from the story to the selling, because you know what you're going to say, you know how the dots are connected. So you can just sit down and you can kind of get into that writer's trance or into your flow state, into that peak state that you get into when you're really like on a roll. And actually, the great thing about it is by spending a little bit of time up front planning it out, you're going to write much faster, you're going to write much better, and you're going to get better results. For every minute you spend writing, the results are going to be better. And so sit down and plan it out. Say, okay, here's the story selling template that this story follows most closely. 2, here are the details that I need to feature. Oh yeah, and that's a prompt for me to actually write those details, or it doesn't matter if you're writing or you're speaking or you're however you are translating your story into a selling message, into a persuasive message, you'll still do much better by really quickly making some notes and planning it out. Now, if you like this content, if you want to hear more from me about story selling, make sure you click the like button. You can also comment, share, ask questions there, and you can share the video with people who might find it valuable, whether it's people on your team or people that you just know and like. And you can also subscribe. You can make sure that you're subscribed here. You can also go to breakthroughmarketingsecrets.com. Not every piece of content that I put out is a video. I put out content Monday through Friday on copywriting, marketing, business building, selling, story selling, personal development, and more. And you get that all by going to breakthroughmarketingsecrets.com. And also check out the links in the description to the Ultimate Selling Story and the Story Selling Masterclass. And I would highly, highly encourage you to really focus in and develop storytelling and story selling as a core skill. If you're involved in persuasion in any way, whether you're a copywriter or whether you get up on stage and tell and sell, whether you are selling one-to-one or whatever context you might be putting persuasive messages either into media or directly in front of your prospects, understanding the principles of highly effective story selling, understanding those 3 pillars, understanding the story selling templates, and perhaps finding your best selling stories that you can use over and over again. Like, that is really going to be transformative for you as a persuader through media, through whatever messaging you're using. And if you do that, like, every bit of persuasive communication that you put out is going to be more effective at getting your prospects to take the action that you want them to take. But it all starts with this idea of like really understanding the role that stories can play. And when you pay attention to anybody who really inspires you, they don't even have to be in marketing or business. They could be anywhere. Most often, they inspire you because they are able to tell stories that motivate people to take action. And you'll notice that in them. And the more that you practice this, the more that you'll notice that in yourself, and the more that you'll be able to apply it however you would like. So again, check out the links in the description. My name is Roy Furr. This has been a video issue of Breakthrough Marketing Secrets. I hope that you've gotten a lot of value out of it, and I look forward to seeing you again in your next video. I will see you again soon. Bye.